I imagine a lot of business owners are probably quite relieved about that. You don't have to work yourself to death.
I had a business coach. You're working 6 days a week.
What kind of things were they saying? What were they suggesting that you do?
I needed someone to say, look, calm your nervous system down. You know, the mantra, don't just sit there, do something. Flip it and don't just do something, sit there. Just to be there and consolidate for a few months and just don't make any big swings. If you want to earn money, if you want to grow your business, then you're going to have to grow others and allow others to earn money.
So getting the right mentor is really important, isn't it? Today's episode is sponsored by Bamboo Cosmetic Dentistry. More information about them later in the podcast. Hello and welcome to the Better Business Podcast, where I talk to business owners about the highs and the lows, the pitfalls and successes, the agony and the ecstasy of running a business. My name's Justin Chaloner, and with me today is Dan Rogers, and we're going to be finding out all about what he does and how he runs his business. So hi Dan, how are you and how are things?
Hi Justin, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, very good. Just enjoying the nice weather. It's a nice change. How are things? Yeah, things are pretty good. Life's always busy, hectic.
Yeah.
But in a good way. We move forward.
Good stuff. Well, let's begin by finding out a bit about you. So can you tell the audience about yourself, about your business and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Dan Rogers. I came out of dental school in 2003, knowing how to be, not sure I knew how to be a dentist then, but you kind of learn as you go along. What I didn't know was how to be a business owner. So I set up a practice in Cardiff in the November of 2012, and I still have it today. So where are we now? Well, 14 years later. It's you learn on the job. You know, when you're an owner, operator business, you learn on the job, and it's definitely a roller coaster. It's been some definite ups and downs throughout the years, and you kind of wouldn't have it any other way. But at the same time, if you had your chance over, you definitely do things differently.
Yeah.
I would anyway.
Yeah. Did you start the practice on your own or have you got partners?
So started it on my own. In all fairness, it was already operating as a very small NHS dental practice.
Right.
So I didn't do a very good job of saving a lot of money. I just thought one day, do you know what, I just need to buy my own practice. So I kind of borrowed money from everywhere I could and used all my savings. And the only thing I could afford really was a small little NHS place. And at the time, it was relatively straightforward to get some funding, because funding for NHS dental practices is a lot easier to come by than funding for private practices, especially if you're a younger dentist and you want to make your first sort of move into ownership. So I kind of left my associate dentist job, where you work for somebody else on the Wednesday, and then the next day, the Thursday, you walk into the dental practice that as a boss, and that was a bit weird, really, and a bit scary, So, but if you think about it, the other side, the employees that I was sort of inheriting, they had been with the same boss, if you like. They had their boss for over 30 years. So it was a big change for me, but I think it was an even bigger change for them. So you put all that change together in one day, and you can imagine how the next few months would unravel. Yeah, so it was a small 2-chair NHS practice, but I used it essentially as an entry into practice ownership. And then the practice I have today is a complete 180 in terms of how it looks compared to where it started. So it was useful, but it was never the end goal to have a small NHS practice.
Yeah. So you wanted from the outstart, from the start, you had a kind of goal, you had something to aim for, you wanted to grow it, and yeah. Did your vision for that, has that changed over the years at all, or has it pretty much stayed the same since you started?
Yeah, it's changed massively, really. There was no vision when I first started. There was just instinct. really. And it was the decision to move into practice ownership or business ownership was purely driven by I feel like this is what I should be doing or I need to be doing. I mean, the business plan was literally, you know, 3 new patients a month to give me X amount of money. And that was that. I hadn't even worked out if the loan repayments to buy the practice could be serviced by the revenue of the practice. I think the banks did that calculation for me because they wanted to know if they were going to get their money back. But I mean, it was a completely ridiculous way of approaching a business purchase. Whether, and I wouldn't recommend it because dentistry is just another business. You've got to go through the same due diligence when you buy a dental business as you would if you were buying, I don't know, a manufacturing business or a marketing business. But it was just acting on emotion. It was, I'm fed up with where I was. I didn't like where I was at that particular moment in time. So I knew I wanted to be better, or I thought that involved buying a business, basically. So the vision's changed hugely over the years because now, some years down the line, I get frustrated if the business isn't reflecting who I am. So whereas in the beginning, you just head down, backside up, and you just cracking on, making a bunch of mistakes, cracking loads of eggs, and you're hoping an omelette comes out at the end of it. Yeah. And then now it's very much more strategic. And there is a need to get more from the business rather than just what you get when you're acting on instinct. You have to see where it's going, otherwise you don't feel fulfilled. That's where I am now, anyway, 14 years down the line.
What was it like when you in those first few months of owning your own practice? Did you make lots of mistakes? Was there stuff that you feel like you should have done but you didn't? And was there? I guess there was a lot of learning to do. You had to kind of, get your head around all the various responsibilities. What was that like?
Yeah, completely overwhelming. Out of my depth, really. I was so unprepared and ill-equipped to be a business owner. I was very well equipped to be a dentist. I was a good dentist because I had attention to detail. I had super high standards for myself, and I was a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to fixing people's teeth, which is kind of what you need really if you're a patient,
Yeah.
But those attributes are not particularly conducive to fostering a functional team, because you can't you have to have high standards and you have to hold yourself accountable, but you can't beat yourself up. And if you beat yourself up, you end up sort of metaphorically beating others up if they don't attain the same standards as you have. Now, in other words, I wasn't well-rounded enough. I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to approach business ownership. So I went in there with a big sledgehammer. Look, you're not working Monday 9 a.m. through to Friday 1 p.m. anymore. We're going to be working 7 days a week. And we're going to be going, 3 of those days are going to be 12-hour shifts, But don't worry, because I'm going to be working them all myself as well. I'm not expecting you to do any more work than what I am. But you guys are going to be on a shift pattern, obviously, and I'm just going to be the one that's going to, do the max amount of hours. So ill-equipped. It's not the sort of thing they teach you in dental school, even though, at least a third of dentists that come out there will end up owning their own practices / businesses. I'm completely overwhelmed. And I would say that there was a period there where I was completely detached from any aspect of life other than what existed within those 4 walls.
That was your only focus. That was all consuming. Is that right?
All consuming. Yeah. All consuming, because I felt the need to make it work. I felt the pressure of making it work. I'd always put myself under a lot of pressure anyway, and it kind of, in some respects, it's not a bad thing, but you also have to temper that with a little bit of self-love.
Yes.
And now at the age of 47, you have that. Having kids teaches you that. But at the time, not married, not having kids, you kind of just go pedal to the metal, and you burn the most valuable resource, really, which is your own human resource and the other human resources that you have there. So you get completely, well, I got anyway, completely withdrawn from every aspect of life other than what existed in the practice to see in the patient. It's a quite a high pressure job being a dentist if you want to do it properly. If you have high standards and produce high quality work that is going to last the patient, it's difficult enough anyway. And then when you add the business growth element onto that, without the strategy, it's just, it's a hamster wheel of difficulty, really. Sure.
Yeah. And you mentioned about, obviously, the practice is a business. I guess some people might think, oh, well, you're a dentist. Everyone needs their teeth fixed. It must be easy. It must be easy to run a dental practice because you must have like a bunch of ready-made customers who will just flock to you. I guess that's not the case. But what would you say to people who would say that?
We are in a privileged position being dentists because, everybody needs a dentist. But every practice has its own slightly tweaked business model for various reasons, whether it be location, whether it be the footprint of the building. And you do see dental practices going bust. You do. Not many, but they don't make a lot. They don't realize how much money they're not making, especially if they take the business owner's revenue out of the financial figures, So I would suggest that, yes, where there's an NHS contract, you've got a regular stream of income, so long as you honor that contract and see a certain number of patients. The NHS contract, just talk briefly about NHS contracts, they don't increase with inflation, or they don't increase in line with the cost base increase, whether it be business rates or whether it be utilities or material costs, So the only way really to make an NHS dental practice work is to cut your costs, pay less for materials, try to pinch a penny here and there, and that doesn't really drive quality. It just, you plateau at mediocreness, really. So it's private practices, you're into the world of commercialism. You're in the cut and thrust of trying to win patients or win customers, or clients, whatever, just like any other business. That can go either way. So then it takes strategy. You don't need strategy if you have an NHS contract because, you're operating under the NHS banner. They're essentially the branding for you. You have patients that come in that, see you as an NHS practice, and you're just there. You're a presence on the high street. You enter into private practice, and most dental practices will go down the private route because they want to be in control of the quality of dentistry that they're putting out there. But you can't control the quality of dentistry you're putting out with NHS contracts because you're strung up really by the financial model. At least with private practice, you're in charge of your own financial model. But then you can't just wing it. You have to have strategy. And then you go back, it becomes another business like anything else. So you have to think about positioning. And then you have to think about your price point, your branding, your messaging, the added value that you can put across the patients, to the patients. So not every dental practice is I don't know, is in a pretty penny. Incidentally, I didn't realize my particular dental practice, if it was, and this is one of the reasons why I came out of providing dentistry, I didn't realize, but it was only 1% profitable. Now, nobody in their right mind would run a business with all the hassle that comes with that for 1% profitability. So the only reason I was, relatively comfortable financially was because of the work that I was doing with my own hands. So if when I redid the financial model and the revenue that I brought in with my own hands went through the financial model as if I was paying another dentist to do it, an associate dentist, then yeah, it was coming out at 1% profitability. So I was almost subsidizing the business with the dentistry that I was doing. So then it's just a job. Because if I wanted to go, to Australia for 6 months to see family, then I wouldn't have been able to because we would have been 1% profitable during that time frame. And nobody's gonna, anybody can't survive with that sort of financial model.
Yeah.
So not every dental practice is earning a pretty penny. They don't realize how much money they're not making until they come to sell.
Right. Yeah. And I imagine that running a dental practice means you're under a lot of regulation because obviously you're providing healthcare service. How does that affect the business? All the kind of the regulations and all the stuff that comes with that.
Well, like most things these days, really, the purpose of the regulation has probably changed over the years. It's in dentistry. It used to be about putting the patients first and ensuring that good quality dentistry was going into patients' mouths. So the regulation maybe 15 years ago was in large part based around people who were employed by the regulators coming around to your dental practice and looking in the mouths of your patients and checking, because that's ultimately what matters. Patients need good quality dentistry. They don't need things that they don't need. They don't need dentistry that breaks. They don't need dentistry that's delivered but isn't delivered in a way that they said they were going to deliver it. So, but that has changed now over the years, and it's all become box ticking. Now, a lot of it is have purpose. You have to have regulations around the use of, say, X-rays or laser equipment for the safety of the employees and the safety of patients.
Yeah.
And all the materials have to be up to a certain standard and what have you, and certain amount of cleanliness and disinfecting and sterilization. That obviously, those things are designed to protect patients. Then there's a lot of box ticking that it is just there, and it's difficult to see a purpose for it. So I think if they focused maybe a little bit more on the things that actually mattered to the patients and did it more regularly, then we'd have a much more friendlier relationship with the compliance guys out there. We had an inspection in May, and it's our first one for 7 years. So, I think they should be going around practices a little bit more often, really, focusing on the things that matter most to patients, like good quality dentistry, honest.
Yeah. Okay. So what actually got you into dentistry in the first place? What attracted you to the profession?
Well, it comes a moment when you're 14 where you have to, I don't know if schools still do this, but they do give you a week. And they kind of steer it a little bit, but it's a week essentially to find yourself some work experience. And you disappear from that Monday to Friday, and it just gets the kids out of the school and gives the teachers a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go to a sports shop that was in the middle of the town centre in Llanelli, where I grew up. I thought, I could probably sell some sports equipment. I was quite a sporty kid. I knew I was good at all sports, and yeah, it'd be nice to just mess about there for a week, really. Didn't for one moment take it seriously. But my mother said, no, you're not doing that. You can't be doing that. You need to do something productive. So she just said, look, I've phoned the dentist and you're going down there for a week.
All right. Okay.
So that's what I did. I kind of stood over the shoulder of a dentist that I'd never met before, and I had a great week. They gave me a tenner at the end of the week for my trouble of, I don't know, just watching them. I mean, it was quite, I was well pleased with that. And I was a lazy 14-year-old boy. I thought, that's right, I'll just do that then. Somebody said, do you want to do medicine instead? And I'm like, no, because I knew that it was super hard work after qualifying. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to go into uni and I'm going to want a job at the end of it, I don't want to go into a ballot, and start sort of interviewing. I thought, you know what, dentistry works really, if you think about it. I was into the sciences. Um, I was a decent hand-eye coordination. I wasn't a klutz, I wasn't
Yeah.
dropping things all the time. Um, it's a job at the end of uni. There's an element of respect there as well in terms of your standing in the community, and it's a chance to be part of a community and contribute. So yeah, it made sense, to be honest. I certainly wasn't a natural at it. Some colleagues, in the year group just seemed to come naturally to them. I don't know what it was, but I was left-handed. I am still left-handed.
Oh, same here. I'm left-handed.
Yeah, well, all the best people are, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Apart from some of the dictators that we've met over the last century. But that was being taught by right-handed tutors. And it just didn't click, it just did not click. And I'm in right-handed dental surgery rooms, which, believe it or not, makes a huge difference.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because ergonomically, and it just didn't click. Anyway, I got through it, and the last couple of years was mildly enjoyable. And that was that. Once you come out of uni after 5 years with a specialism, if you like, then you're in too deep, aren't you?
You can't pull out at the end of it, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 40 grams worth of beer debt, and you need to, you need to make it work. So
Yeah.
I don't think I was cut out for it emotionally. I think I was, I had put too much pressure on myself. It's a high pressure environment anyway. So I think my mentors would have been better off not teaching me dentistry and teaching me how to regulate my emotions a bit more, I think.
Okay.
To be honest, because that's I think that held me back ultimately, as much as it pushed me forward, I think.
Yeah. And let's talk about kind of the work that you do at the moment, in terms of the kind of the cosmetic dentistry that you do. Now, I imagine you find that people come to you, and you're able to help them in a way. And how does that feel? And what is that process like when someone comes to you, or you talk to someone, and you're able to make a difference, in terms of how they look and how they feel, and what is that like for you?
Yeah, so it's changed over the years. When I first started providing cosmetic dentistry, it was it was quite a magical feeling. It was an excitement, and a look what I've done to your teeth. Look at this amazing sort of piece of work that I've done, and the patients were happy. I was fulfilled because they were happy, and that's why I went into cosmetic dentistry, really, because rather than general dentistry, because I wanted to deliver treatments that patients wanted rather than treatments that patients felt they needed. Nobody needs cosmetic dentistry. You know what I mean? People want cosmetic dentistry. So when people are coming to you for a service that they want, it bodes well for a functional relationship, where there's mutual respect and you're both on the same page, moving towards the same goal, which is, to achieve something. So in the early days, that was everything. And then it was like a drug. You'd feed off it. So what's the next patient? And then you've got 40 or 50 patients on the go over any one time. And, you're at varying points of their smile design, and then some are coming on board and some are dropping off. And it's constantly day to day, you're sort of, you're going through that moment of elation where somebody is so happy about the smile that you've just sort of unveiled, that it's it's almost like a proud moment where they're leaving practice back to their normal life, and it's like, great. Now, weirdly enough, that wasn't enough for me. About 10 years later, it got a little bit transactional. In part, I started to see patients coming in wanting their smiles to be transformed for the wrong reasons. So they'd come in and they'd want the service that I was providing them and my associate dentists, so they were providing them, they'd want that service to change their lives rather than help contribute to a life they were already relatively happy with. So they were making up for something they didn't have in themselves or in their life, which is fine, but I wanted to touch upon that first with them and not go straight into designing a smile. I don't know what it was. Maybe I'd been doing it for a little while and it just became a little bit of burnout, after all the years of working so much, because, I worked 7 days a week for 15 months. And that includes Boxing Day, Easter Sunday, and bank holidays and everything. So and then after COVID, obviously, that was a tricky time. A ton of work was waiting for us for whatever reason after COVID, but it was then just pedal to the metal and just head down.
Yeah.
So I lifted the head up again. Then about 2 years later, in 2022, and thought, I'm fixing people's smiles here, which look on the, if you take yourself out of it, you think it's a great thing to do. You contribute into people's lives, you're helping them. But I was just feeling like, no, I'm not helping them enough. It lost its shine for me anyway. So I came out of the clinical setting, and that's when actually I realized that I wasn't making any money. So I rejigged the financial model of the practice so that I could come out and then steer the practice from a bit of a more abstract way, from a higher viewpoint. And now it's taken me only until the last 12 months to feel as though I'm able to contribute again. Because I wasn't providing value to we can call them customers, because we're talking about business. Because I wasn't providing value to the customer or patient on a day-to-day basis, I didn't think I was providing value at all to anyone. So there was a few things going on in my personal life, and I put the brakes on a couple of plans that I had for the practice, and that was annoying me as well. But it's only, I think, the last 12 months where I've thought I'm able to contribute here from a higher position, can add value to the lives of patients, not by straightening their teeth, whitening their teeth, changing the shape of their teeth, but by cultivating an environment in which others can do the dentistry and I can plan the strategy and steer the delivery. So now almost the smiles take care of themselves. If a patient came up to me in the street and said, "Thanks for sorting my smile," I'd be extremely pleased. But then I'd be like, "Well, how have we contributed in other ways to your life?" That's what I want to know now. How else can I contribute to in a positive way?
Yeah.
So it's changed. It's matured, I guess.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you're not focusing just on the smile. You're focusing on it's a more holistic kind of approach, isn't it? I mean, what do people, why do people come to you? What are their motivations? And you say that, some of them, they've got plenty of good stuff going on, but they feel like they need to have their teeth, looked at. So yeah, tell me about the patients. What are their motivations? Why are they coming to you? And what is your approach to sort of helping them kind of look at these sort of issues that are affecting them?
Yeah, well, they're coming to us mostly because the way the outlook they have in life is perhaps not represented by what they see in the mirror, if you like. So they want a smile to contribute to how they feel and how they approach life. Most of the time, well, anyway, that's the case. So they're looking for some value, and most people want to feel connected, I think. If you think about the different values that we have, well, I value a degree of certainty in life, the four walls I'm living in, the frequency in which I'm able to see my children, a certain level of certainty. And then I value a certain level of uncertainty because that's what makes me feel like I'm exploring and, living and moving forward. but first and foremost, I value connection. I take huge value from listening to other people's stories, because it's in those stories, the good things about their lives, the bad things about their lives, their journeys. It's in that story of a journey that you learn about yourself.
Mm.
And you can use other people's stories to find relevance in your own story. Um, and that's, I think, what drives almost all art, is a major driver behind everybody, I think, coming in to see us to have their smiles transformed, because we don't really have a list of patients we see every 6, 12 months. We just kind of like, our goodwill is out there, we market, we bring patients in, fix their smiles up, and then sort of pat them on the back and wish them all the best.
Mm.
But I think they're trying to connect, and I think they're trying to connect, first of all, with themselves, how they represent in front of the mirror, and how they connect with others. Because when you walk into a room full of people you don't know, you don't really, it takes a person who has a strong sense of self to be confident. Now, most of us, when we walk into a room with a bunch of people we don't know, will have a little bit of a wobble, you know.
Mm.
Some just wouldn't do it. But most will just walk in there and go, oh, this is a little bit awkward. I'll go straight to the coffee machine, grab a coffee, and then sort of, whilst I'm making that, make some small talk to somebody that's, adjacent to me, and then you'll get into it. But if you're able to walk into a room and you feel a little bit more connected with who you are and a little bit more secure in who you are, then you're able to connect with others.
Yeah.
So the reciprocating that comes from connecting with yourself and connecting with others is a snowball effect. So that's the major benefit behind us to patients, and the major reason why patients come in and wanting their smiles sorted out. I think half of them don't know that, but they're looking to connect with themselves and then connect with others. If you can connect with others, you can see yourself in others, and they can see themselves in you, and that's what relating to somebody actually means. So it's relationships and connection really underpins it all.
And now a word from our sponsor. Bamboo Cosmetic Dentistry is a patient-focused dental practice in Cardiff who quite simply help people smile. Bamboo's goal is to help people move towards a more confident version of themselves. With a range of treatments such as composite bonding, whitening, teeth straightening and veneer work, there is something for everyone. Our dentists are experts in small adjustments to a smile through to complete smile makeovers. Bamboo also uses AI smile design, which lets the patient see how teeth would look before you begin the process, and the whole team are on hand to help with any questions or concerns. Bamboo have won 9 awards and are 5-star rated across Google and Trustpilot, with over 2,000 combined reviews. Bamboo are Cardiff and Wales's leading choice for award-winning trusted cosmetic dentistry. Get in touch today.
You can't take that message in bluntly and put it into the marketplace when you're trying to sell cosmetic dentistry, because they'll just go, well, what the hell are you on about?
Yeah.
But you have to try and weave it in subtly in the content you put out there. And I think that was the driving force behind me coming out of the surgery about 4 years ago and stopping the delivery of dentistry personally. Because I think I had lost the connection to myself maybe, and also to the patients and to others. So I thought, you know what, okay, the business no longer represents who I am, so I'm going to come out and I'm going to change it so that it represents who I am a little bit more, because what's the point in having a business if it doesn't somehow reflect who you are?
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. You mentioned earlier, you talked about, you've said emotions, you've mentioned about, kind of emotions and feelings. And you said that you worked for a number of months, 7 days a week, and obviously that's going to take its toll, isn't it? Physically and mentally. So, what do you do about self-care? How do you look after yourself? Because obviously, it's an important thing, isn't it? And it's something that's very common for business owners, that we can sometimes let things slip. What do you do to look after yourself?
Well, it's a lot easier now that I'm not doing 12-hour shifts in the dental chair. But I don't know really what with age, with a certain degree of maturity comes a certain level of awareness of yourself, I think. And if you can't go through parenthood without sort of changing the way you feel about yourself, because you have to become selfless to be a parent, everything you do is about the kids ultimately. So you have to have a degree of self-love from which you can parent. And part of that self-love is having an awareness of you in terms of your mind, your body, and your spirit. There's one thing kids teach you, to be fair, inadvertently. They teach you to get under the surface of yourself a little bit. So first of all, I guess I have an awareness now of, when I'm feeling a little bit strung out, or my habits, or my going through life, or the day when I'm tired, when I'm not had enough sleep, if that sleep debt builds up, or if my diet hasn't been great. So first of all, awareness, and then it's a case of just inserting little habits into the day, whether it be just 5 minutes of sitting, in silence, and just trying to just clear the mind. Whether it's 30 minutes of exercise routine 4 times a week, just something that it's in the diary that sort of compounds over time, becomes a bit of a habit. I'm up and down with it. I think that's normal. I have moments where the stars align, and the last 2 weeks, I've exercised 4 times a week. I've avoided, can't eat bread anymore. Right? It just makes me feel like I'm bloated. So, but it's quite hard to avoid bread if you're out on the hoof and you need to grab something to eat. But I'm not eating bread for 2 weeks. Oh, this has been all right. But then I'll go through a phase where I'm like, I've eaten some bread the last few days, and it's been about a week now since I've done any exercise. So it's not giving yourself a hard time, being aware of how you're feeling in your body, not operating on autopilot is a key. It comes with maturity, really. If the 21-year-old self was listening to what I'm saying, you'd probably switch off, and say, oh, because my 21-year-old self was just someone who worked hard, played hard, and pushed the limits of what he could do, really, to no end at all.
It's a lot easier to do that when you're that age, though, isn't it? You've got the energy, you've got the freedom to do that. Yeah,
absolutely. And it was easier to run yourself to the ground in business at that, at 34 when I set the practice up, than it is now at 47. No responsibilities apart from those that lie within the 4 walls of business.
Yeah. So if you were able to talk to your former younger self about the business, what would you say? What kind of things would you what kind of advice would you give?
I would say, look, don't be a dentist, just buy a dentist. So having an owner operator business, when you're without any business intelligence, is only going to serve to exhaust the main resource, which is you. Was I ever precious about dentistry? Not really, no. It was just a vehicle to connect with people and to help people's lives. Well, we could have achieved that goal not being a dentist and simply just, being a dental owner.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd worked on myself a little bit more from a younger age. And I wish I had a more strategic business plan, one which, wasn't based around working harder. Certainly I'm glad I went through that, because if my son went in, or my daughter went into a profession now and they wanted to set their own practice up, then there's no way I'd let them make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
So I think, look, you want to be a dentist, great. You want to be a dentist and a business owner, that's not so great unless you do it right.
Yeah. Strategy is very important, isn't it? And I can see why people tend to, like you said before, they go by instinct rather than, something a bit more Why do you think that's well? I mean, maybe it is obvious, but why do you think that's important?
Well, you've already made the decision to be a business owner, yeah, because you don't
Mm.
want to work for anybody else. So it's important to have strategy because you're a business of one, and you don't realize it's not a business. You know, if you're providing the lion's share of the revenue and the profit, then it's not a business. It's just a job with added stress, ultimately.
Mm.
So, you know, whether you like it or not, you know, you have to adopt a different perspective. And that doesn't happen overnight. You know, it takes a little bit of reading. It takes a good mentor if you can find one that's, you know, been through it and you know, come out the other end. Because if you're not able to do that, then it can really cause havoc in your life because there are
Mm.
plenty of families there where, you know, whether it's the husband or the wife or what have you, is, you know, running a business and wearing all hats, you know, sales, marketing, HR, you know, operations, strategy, wearing all hats at once, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just gets more stressful, more stressful, more stressful. Because the trouble is, you start a business, um, you think, right, I'm going to do this because this is what I've learned to do with my hands, whether it be, you know, any kind of business, whether you set a marketing business up or whether you set a dental practice up. Then you go, okay, cool. Now I'm going to just earn a little bit more. You know, this is good. I'm going to take another client on board, I take another patient on board. And then next thing you know, then you've got another grand coming into your bank account every month for the last 3 months. Then you buy a different car and you move house. And then, all right, so the minimum sort of income level has been raised from there to there. Then like, okay, yeah, things are going well, things are going well. Another patient comes on board, another client comes on board. Well, I better think about getting somebody else on board. All right. Well, if I get somebody else on board, I have to give them half the revenue that comes in. I'm got to give them the wage. Okay, well, can I afford that? Can we afford that? No, I can't afford that yet. Let's work a bit harder. And then bring another patient or another client on board. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I need someone to take the admin off me because I'm doing admin. I ain't got time for admin anymore. I'm on the operations. And then next thing you can't go to your kid's sports day because you can't get out of you can't leave your job or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And then the business starts to run you, rather than you running the business. So that's what happens when there's no strategy in place. And it happens to a lot of people, a lot of owner operator businesses. It happens to, and it literally ruins lives because there's no reason for it. You know, why would you want to? Why would you want to grow a business for it to rule your life?
Mm. It's that old adage, isn't it, of working smarter, not harder.
Yeah,
And I think it's very true because in some ways you can achieve the same results. If you work really hard, you can probably, get to where you want to be. But there's all the fallout from that, isn't there? There's the stress, the
yeah,
relationship stuff. But if you can work smart, then you can achieve that goal without burning out.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
So the principle, I think the most important thing somebody can do when they're setting their business up is to have that level of income that they absolutely need to pay their bills and keep their heads above water with maybe, a 10% buffer for a rainy day, what have you. And then set up the business in terms of how much time you're going to spend in the business, just so that it covers that level of financial need. And then the rest of the time, if it's available, just don't work in it, just work on it. Work on yourself, work from a higher strategic level of the business and start to bring people in. Because if you want to earn money, if you want to grow your business, then you're going to have to grow others and allow others to earn money. That's one of the things that I learned from the early days, really, 2016,
Mm.
I said, I can't do all this by myself. I'm going to bring an associate dentist on board. And I don't care how much money I'm not going to be bringing in if I bring them on board because, do you know what? Someone said to me, you have to earn other people money if you want to earn money yourself.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
So I did. And I'm not saying money is the driving force, but when you have a business, it is the oil that makes the wheels turn. Right? You have to have financial metrics met, otherwise you don't have business.
Yeah.
Any kind of higher level reason for having a business then is irrelevant because you're not got one. So yeah, it's not easy, but structure it so that you have time to work on the business and then decide, okay, how am I going to work on the business? Not in it. Don't spend or don't increase your outgoings in accordance to the improved performance of the business. Stay modest until you're able to have the business that can run without you for at least 3 months.
Yeah.
And then buy the next car or the next house or, trip to Orlando or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good advice. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
It's hard though, because, people just want to just go for it, don't they? They just, it's so much to consider having a business. I'm just going to head down and go for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It takes a mentor to just pull you out of that and say, look, this is where you're going to go if you carry on like this.
Yeah. Did you have a mentor?
Ironically,
have you got one?
Yes, they've not always been the best mentors, if I'm honest. So I had a business coach, believe it or not, when I set the practice up.
Yeah.
And a year later, I'm working, 7 days a week. So, that was ridiculous. I don't know what kind of business coach calls them a business coach when, they allow you to max yourself out like that, really.
So what kind of things were they saying? What were they suggesting that you do?
Well, they're getting swept up in the enthusiasm that I had for business growth. I think one of them mentioned the words to me like, don't work too hard. The kids are only young once, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't enough of a message, and it wasn't hammered home enough.
Yeah.
And certainly, what they were doing is providing sort of non-exec director type advice, which is fairly abstract and removed from anything that is going on in the weeds of the business on a day-to-day. Right. So you go in there, for perspective, but you're coming away from there, triply enthused about the possibilities of where this business could go. Now, everybody's different, but I was the kind of person that didn't really need to be pushed forward. I probably need to be held back, because I was already flying in terms of, I'm doing this and doing that. I'm enthused. I'm geared up for this business to go from here to there. I needed someone to say, look, calm yourself down, calm, your nervous system down. Just, instead of, the mantra, don't just sit there, do something, flip it and just go, don't just do something, sit there. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's the best advice, is to do nothing and just to be there and consolidate for a few months and just don't make any big swings, So that's the kind of things they were saying were in fact compounding issues that I had by not saying no to me,
Yeah.
It was a simple win for them, but it was catastrophic for me. And
okay.
It was the wrong mentor.
So getting the right mentors, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody who sits you down and go, right, well, look, literally, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? How do you want your health to look in 5 years? What do you want your marriage or your partnership to look like? Where do you see your kids in 5 years? What house do you think you're in 5 years? What savings do you think you have for retirement in 5 years? None of that was discussed.
Yeah.
It was all about, how many new patients, how many new clients have you had this month, and what's the next 3 months looking like? And it's a daft metric, really, because instead of freeing you up, which business growth should, it ties you in without the right strategy leading it from above.
Yeah. 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 I imagine a lot of business owners are probably quite relieved about that. Just, you don't have to work yourself to death. You don't have to, work your fingers to the bone to be successful.
No, absolutely not. There are people buying businesses every day and they have no experience of the sector in which their business operates. But with the right people around them, They're able to keep the operation level going, to move forward with business growth, and they're able to see the bigger picture. They're able to allow those businesses to contribute to their lives rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're starting a business from scratch and you're building something, it is the only thing you need to be mindful of is how much time is it taking out of you, because it'll take everything out of you without proper strategy.
What's the kind of the future plans for your business? How do you see yourself in the next few years? What kind of, do you foresee any big changes in the industry coming down the line?
In dentistry, well, I mean, in healthcare in general, it's becoming more of a outcome-based, personalized healthcare delivery, So the advent of genetic testing and the influence of our DNA and our lifestyle on our genes is growing. It's growing. So the personalization based on our genetic makeup of treatment delivery in medicine, in healthcare, in wellness is probably a new frontier, to be honest.
Okay.
In dentistry, not so much. I mean, I guess dentists have a role in that, insofar as, we can swab the mouths for test genetically for different things, and then we can sort of refer out to other healthcare practitioners, such as nutritionists or personal trainers or anyone else. And you can tell a lot about the overall health of the human by, what you find in the mouth, especially around the health of the gums and softer tissues that are in the mouth. And you do have a role to play now in dentistry when it comes to maybe highlighting inflammatory markers for things like heart disease or chronic illnesses, really. Sleep medicine is becoming part of dentistry now as well, because everybody's becoming sort of switched on a little bit to the role of sleep in their overall well-being. If you've got a smartwatch on your wrist, most of them can tell you how well you slept if you sort of connect it up to an app. So there's becoming a lot of crossover between the healthcare professions or the sectors of healthcare, because personalization of the genetic level is leading it. So I think that's the new frontier, really, in healthcare. Dentistry, allied professions, in terms of collaboration for the benefit of the patient and their health. But AI is playing a major role in the treatment planning of dentistry, especially moving teeth around. The delivery of treatment plans, AI-based. Lots of businesses now are, a lot of the key metrics are delivered by AI. So, you don't have to use as much human hours to sort of pull off the data you need.
Yeah.
So from a business owner's point of view, that's the next frontier for us, really, is to be able to get under the skin of the business in terms of how it's performing with AI modeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you see your business, have you got plans to grow and expand your business over the coming years?
Do we have plans to expand? No, not at the moment. We don't have plans to expand it and make it bigger. I think with any kind of expansion when it comes to a dental practice, it's a 5-year plan. Where we are at the moment with, the age of the kids and other things that's going on, I think it's a case of modernizing the practice, modernizing the systems, building some more depth to the brand in terms of the messaging, maybe bolting on some products that add additional value to patients based around, the reason why they have this as that eye connection. Because that kind of thing is playful and it's creative and it's enjoyable, therefore. So yeah, I think if we had a 5 or 10 year plan, we'd probably pick the practice up and move it somewhere else. And but then it's that business plan would be around perhaps putting allied professions into the same building. But, I don't think we're going to go down that route, really.
It's a big step, isn't it? It's quite disruptive to do something like that.
Yeah, timing's everything. And as one thing I learned from starting the business that a few years back is it's all right not to make big swings. Just you can get a lot of fulfillment and enjoyment out of what you've got.
Sure.
Rather than sort of having to reinvent it every so often. Because it would take a pound of flesh most likely, and to what end? An extra X amount of revenue and profit. Well, okay, fine, I could do, but also most important thing really these days is to take some fulfillment from what you do, and that doesn't tend to involve an extra pound these days.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. It's been a really interesting conversation. I'm really interested to hear, from your experience. Before we finish, I've got something, it's a fairly new thing that I'm doing on the podcast. I've got a quick fire round, if you don't mind. So I'm just going to fire some questions at you, and if you can kind of fire some answers back, that'd be great.
My quick responses, but that's just
great. Well, I've asked AI to give me a few questions, so we'll just see what it's come up with. So here we go. First question: the best business book.
Best business book. It's a book called Traction, and I'd be damned if I can remember who wrote it. But it's all about having the visionary, the implementer, and organizing the team around you. It is an operational book. You could pick it up and implement it into your business. It's not what do you call it? It's a book that you can take into the weeds of business with you.
It's practical.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, great. Next question: what is the most overrated business advice, do you think?
Most overrated business advice is the advice that tells you to chase turnover. Because it's just it's a metric which is important, but if you just chase turnover, then you're taking away off so much of the rest of the game. And I said all that turnover is vanity, and profit is sanity. So it just goes to show my turnover was growing and growing and growing every year, but the profit was like 1%. Something like that.
Yeah.
I would rather have 20% of, half the turnover than, 1% of much more.
Yeah. What is the most underrated leadership skill?
Listen. Yeah, just to listen. There's different ways in which you can listen. Listening to respond, is not a good thing. You just got to listen to understand. That's all. Because a lot of the time, people are not after a solution. They're just after someone who can listen and someone who can understand them.
Yeah. What is the one thing every business owner should stop doing?
If at all possible, they should stop getting into the weeds operationally. Just come out a little bit and work on the people and the systems rather than the actual tasks,
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is empowering them to depend on you. So train the people that work for you, who do they need to become if you want a business that runs itself to a degree? Well, let's move them towards being that. And if they're not capable of it, then move them on, or find a different role for them. But it's all about human resource And you have to, you have to stop moaning about them. You have to stop criticizing. They can't do this, they can't do that, and turn the spotlight on yourself. Who have I got to become to turn those people into what they've got to become, so that I got a business that runs itself? Don't get into the tactics, the delivery of the product. Get into the coaching of the team.
Great. One final question from the quick fire round. What is your biggest lesson from dentistry?
Biggest lesson from dentistry is it's just a means to an end. It is not the delivery of dentistry that matters. It is what the dentistry is allowing you to do. And it's the same for any business, really. It's what do you actually sell it? What's the need here from the customer or the client or the patient? They might need straight teeth, but that's not really what they need. We could contribute in other ways, which get them the same result. But after something else. So that's it, really. Dentistry used to be the be all and all, and now it's told me that it isn't.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. That was really good. Like I said, I've had a really enjoyable time. It's been very, very interesting talking to you. How can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
Well, I mean, if they want to find out more about what it takes to be an owner-operator business 7 days a week for 15 months to working from the kitchen table and visiting the practice twice a month, then please just reach out at resonance@drdanielJrogers.com. Or alternatively, if they want to chat about how we can help with their smile, just give us an email on smiles@bamboodental.co.uk.
Great. Well, I'll put links and stuff in the description as well. So if people do want to reach out, then they'll be there so people can get in touch. But yeah, it's been really good. I hope you enjoyed it, Dan. Thank you very much and have a great week.
You too, Justin.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dan about how he's building a better business. If you're looking for cosmetic dentistry that focuses on confidence rather than just straight teeth, you'll find Bamboo in the description below. Now, once you've built a successful business, the next obvious question is, what should you do with the income that it generates? Well, my conversation with Lauren Carlos explores how successful business owners invest their profits, avoid common financial mistakes, and build long-term wealth. Click the video in the description below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again to Bamboo Cosmetic Dentistry for sponsoring today's episode. If you want to find out how Bamboo can help you improve your smile, please click on the links in the description.